Hello, everyone. We'll be starting in just a few minutes. And we'll start in just 1 minute. Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Jerusalem Gurmai, and I'm the Marketing Director at Cosmoprof North America. On behalf of the entire Cosmoprof North America team, I'm pleased to present today's webinar in collaboration with Registrar Corp. Our goal is to help you navigate the evolving regulatory landscape and prepare for Cosmoprof North America Miami 2025, which is just shy of 6 weeks away. With that, I'll now turn it over to Alexis Ocampo to get us started. Thank you for joining us.
Hi everyone, welcome. We're excited to have you join us for our exclusive Cosmoprof Miami webinar. We look forward to showing cosmetic brands and manufacturers how to navigate the cosmetic regulatory landscape in 2024 and beyond. I'm pleased to introduce our cosmetic expert, Chiara Remonti, Senior Regulatory Advisor based in our EU office. She'll share key MoCRA provisions that you must follow and how they impact your business operations. She'll guide you through challenges with product listings, navigating Cosmetics Direct, new adverse event requirements, among other things that you need to know. Throughout this webinar, feel free to write any questions in the Q&A box as we save some time at the end to answer them. Following the webinar, there will be a brief 5-question survey we highly encourage you to take, and our registrar team will share a recording link with you via email within the next day or two. Without any further ado, Chiara, take it away.
Hello, thank you. Thank you so much, Jerusalem. Thank you so much, Alexis, for introducing me. Thank you, everybody, to meet with us today to attend this webinar that's going to be focused on MoCRA Essentials. What's MoCRA? MoCRA stands for Modernization of Cosmetic Regulation Act. It's an act, a law, that was signed by President Biden on December 29th, 2023. So we're almost 2 years from that day. And in these past 2 years, we have gone through the evolution of FDA regulations concerning cosmetic products that are distributed in the United States. By distribution, we mean products that are on the US market, both for sales and as samples. Yeah. So if you're bringing testers, if you're bringing prototypes to Cosmoprof Miami, of course, your company will be impacted by these new provisions. Today, we'll provide you with essentials, so some key points regarding MoCRA. We will not go into a detailed analysis of every single requirement, but still, we think it's going to be very interesting for you. And of course, at the end of this webinar, there will be a Q&A session. Please feel free to pose your questions. And after the webinar too, if you feel like addressing some further questions to us, please either call us up or send us an email. Yeah, so, okay, this regards me, but that's not very interesting. Today's discussion was going to be focused on. We're going to talk about, we're going to provide an overview of MoCRA and the enforcement implications, the challenges that you will be facing with regarding facility registration and product listings requirement. We'll also talk about the new requirements for cosmetics regarding adverse event. Yeah. And then, last but not least, we'll also present the various services of assistance that Registrar Corp can provide you with. First step is understanding which requirements are applicable to your company. Second step is integrating those requirements. Okay, the process is absolutely key to be able to market your products in the United States legally. Okay, and then at the end of our webinar, yeah, as we said, there will be an interactive Q&A session. For those of you that do not know Registrar Corp, we are the world's largest FDA compliance company. We have our headquarters in Hampton, Virginia, with some 300 experts, specialists in FDA requirements. And then we have 20 regional offices that are able to assist you in your time zone, yeah, and in your own language. So that's a plus for our organization. So far, we have served more than 1,000 cosmetic companies worldwide. And amongst those 1,000 companies are 5 of the top 7 companies. So we can boast a widespread assistance worldwide. Yeah. And regarding product listing, please know that so far we have completed more than 26,000 listing submissions in the past 3 months. And again, last but not least, we are the only company worldwide meeting the ISO 27001 standard for data security to protect your trade secrets. And still, after two years from the signature of the MoCRA Act, we realized that there are a lot of companies that are still struggling, to get compliant with MoCRA provisions. So there are still a lot of companies that are running behind in getting their listings done. There is still a lot of confusion on who needs to do what and when. And most companies actually still have not implemented an appropriate adverse event reporting system. When we speak about adverse event reporting system, it's a system related to health issues. Yeah, it's not a customer complaint thing. And also, you have to take into account that if you want to legally market your products in the United States, there are already policies in place that have been put in place by the big retailers and by the marketplaces that require that you provide evidence of listed products with the FDA and that your company is registered as a cosmetic facility and that you have a proper adverse event contact information on your packaging. We'll go step by step in clarifying all these provisions. Don't worry about that. Okay, so the MoCA journey has just begun. Okay, so some of the provisions already have a past deadline. Some others are being developed and will have a deadline of application in the future. All of that to say that we will discuss about a few provisions today, but that's not the end of the story, okay? So for those of you that are subject to registration and listing submissions, please know that the deadline has already passed. Yeah, it was December 29th, 2023. Then the FDA granted 6 more months. So thanks to the enforcement discretion, the deadline was delayed until July the 1st, 2024. But as of now, everyone that is either manufacturing a cosmetic product or is acting as a responsible person will have to be registered as a cosmetic facility or registered the cosmetic products with the FDA. Yeah. About adverse events, the requirement of adverse event reporting is already in place. Yeah, the deadline was once again December 29th, 2023. So in case of a serious adverse event, you are already subject to reporting to the FDA within 15 business days. Whereas the provision of identifying on your packaging a contact for adverse event reporting will have as a final deadline December 29th this year, so in just a few days. Regarding labeling, okay, most of the provisions were already in place since a few years. MoCRA has added new provisions for professional products since last year, December 29th. If you are distributing professional cosmetics in the United States, you should indicate on the packaging for professional use only. Okay? Regarding adverse event contact, okay, you should have that added on your packages by December 29th this year. Regarding the allergen list, okay, as of now, the FDA still has not published the proposed rule. We were waiting for the proposed rule by June, last June. Then it was delayed through October this year. As of now, we haven't seen any proposed rule. Okay, so sooner or later, this proposed rule will be published, and then count that there will be a period of public comment, and then the final rule will be published after 180 days. So there is time. Don't worry about that. Sooner or later, the FDA will indicate exactly the list of allergens in the fragrances that you have to indicate on your packages. For the time being, please take into account the allergen regulations that are in place in your own country. Okay? GMPs are for cosmetic facilities. The proposed rule was expected by December 2024. We still haven't seen anything. It might come as a Christmas present, why not? But we have no certainty about that. The FDA will publish a proposed rule probably sometimes in 2025. And of course, the rule will be graduated according to the scope of a company, the business function, and whether you are a small business or not. And the final rule and the final enforcement will most probably come into effect in a couple of years. Yeah. For the time being, please refer to the standards of your own country. In Europe, we have the ISO standards. Don't worry about that for the time being. There will be a gap analysis to be performed sooner or later. Please be aware of that, sure, but don't worry about that for the time being. Okay, so to make things a little bit clearer, yeah, we have prepared this slide for you. I think it's very clear, yeah, because it indicates who must do what. Okay, so if you are a facility, what's a cosmetic facility? A cosmetic facility is a physical address where a finished cosmetic product is either manufactured in bulk, filled, or packaged. By packaging, we mean the primary packaging. The idea behind that is every facility that gets in touch, yeah, with the finished cosmetic product, okay? And the laboratory that are engaged in batch release testing, like microbiology testing, okay? All of these physical addresses have to register with the FDA as a cosmetic facility. Okay? In order to get a registration with the FDA, you must simply indicate your company name, the physical address, contact details for a person to be contacted by the FDA, and the list of products that are distributed in the United States. If you are not based in the United States, you have an additional requirement. That is, you need to find and designate a U.S. agent. What's a U.S. agent? A U.S. agent it has an administrative and regulatory role in case of an FDA inspection or in case of a detention at customs. It can be a customs broker, it can be your clients, but uh, um, it's a different role. Yeah. So normally we advise, yeah, to avoid business conflicts, business implications. Some parties do business, some other parties do the regulatory side of the whole project. It's better to keep those separate. Yeah. And of course, if you are a facility, you'll be subject to GMPs. Um, you'll be subject to FDA inspection. FDA inspection are always notified months in advance. They're always free of charge. Yeah. But somehow, if you get registered, you cannot deny access to the FDA to your physical address. And of course, the FDA will have access to your records. We'll see later on to which kind of records the FDA will have access to. Not all of them, of course not. Okay, that's for the facility. If you are a responsible person, okay, what's a responsible person according to MoCRA? Forget all of the other definitions that are in place in UK, Europe, Asia, America, South America, China, and so on. A responsible person, according to MoCRA, is the company name that appears on the packaging. Yeah, it can be the manufacturer, it can be the distributor, it can be the brand. Up to you to choose. But once you have chosen which company name to put on the label, then you will automatically become responsible person subject to specific requirements. Which are those specific MoCRA requirements? For listing, what does that mean? That means that you'll have to list, to register all of your products with the FDA in order to get a listing number. Yeah. Then you'll also be subject to adverse event record keeping, all of the adverse events, serious and not serious. Once again, when we speak about adverse events, are health-related events, not customer complaint events, right? In case of a serious adverse event, you'll have to do a reporting to the FDA within 15 business days. Yeah, you'll have to let FDA access your records. Yeah, of course, they will not come physically to your site, but they will request access to your records in order to inspect what you're doing. Yeah, and potentially, if there's something that's going to be wrong, you can be subject to recalls. Yeah, if you're a responsible person, you're also responsible for the labeling, yeah, of the products. That's a bit different with respect to other product classification for cosmetics. The responsible person is responsible for the compliance of the labeling. Yeah. So in case of misbranding charges, is the responsible person that's going to respond to the FDA. And also, the responsible person must disclose the list of potential allergens in the fragrances. So it's very important that the responsible person speaks with the different cosmetic facilities. Why is it so important for the responsible person to keep track of the allergens? Because if you have a serious adverse event, you'll know, yeah, what may be the cause of such event. The third actor in all this supply chain are the suppliers of ingredient. Okay. Normally, the suppliers of ingredients, unless a cosmetic product is made by one single ingredient, are not subject to MoCRA. Yeah, because as we said, MoCRA, yeah, has requirements for the finished cosmetic products. Okay. However, the role that plays suppliers of ingredients is key. Why is that? Because they have to provide the cosmetic facility with testing for safety substantiation or analysis or on ingredients. Yeah. Also, they'll have to disclose the list of potential allergens in the fragrances, and they need to provide the declarations regarding animal testing. So it's key that the three actors, yeah, in the supply chain are absolutely in communication between them, and they keep updated on possible changes. Why MoCRA is so important? Because I think you all know that till a couple of years ago, registration um, uh, was not, of course, mandatory. Yeah, and if you decided to register with the FDA, you could do that post-market. So MoCRA did not have a real authority and regulatory power over cosmetic companies. Now all of that has changed thanks to MoCRA. So the FDA is beginning to issue new regulations to fine-tune the different requirements, but also the FDA is acquiring more and more authority, and this authority translates into the possibility of inspecting both the cosmetic facilities and the responsible persons. If there's something that's not compliant, they could decide to suspend the registration of a cosmetic facility. They could also issue mandatory recall if they determine that a cosmetic product is adulterated or misbranded. What does that mean? Adulterated means that the product, for instance, was packaged not following the current good manufacturing practices that are in place in your own country. Yeah. Misbranding issues are related to the packaging. Yeah, so the labels may not be compliant, the mandatory information may be missing, or the ingredient list are not compliant because, for instance, they are not listed according to the common name, or some colors are not approved, some others need batch certification and you did not ask for that. Some claims are that go too far, so are not appropriate for a cosmetic product. And I want to spend a couple of words on claims. Be aware that classifications are not the same everywhere. So, for instance, we in Europe have cosmetic products that are not considered as cosmetic products according to MoCRA. Yeah. So before deciding to follow the MoCRA requirements, please ensure that your products are cosmetic, yeah, according to MoCRA. And the intended use of a product is based on different criteria, which are the name of the product, the claims, and the ingredients. Yeah, it's clear that if there is an active ingredient, your product cannot be considered as a cosmetic according to MoCRA. Yeah, or if you don't have an active ingredient, but your product have claims that go way too far, yeah, with respect to indicating that the specific product is meant to beautify your appearance, then your product cannot be considered as a cosmetic according to MoCRA. So always, we suggest that you provide us, for instance, or any other consultants that know of FDA requirements, the labels for your products. Yeah, because that way we are able to assess the applicable classification, and we can take it from there to provide you with an overview of applicable requirements. Yeah. Okay, so if there's something wrong at customs, for instance, FDA can issue warning letters, yeah, or they can decide to detain an imported product. Um, and and all those actions, yeah, are notified, are made public on the FDA database. So that's very bad. Yeah, we always said it's always better to prevent, to double check that you're fully compliant instead of waiting for the FDA to get you faulty. Yeah, why is that? Because of course, just imagine a warning letter or an import alert is published on the FDA website. Yeah, and your name is mentioned. Yeah, in the warning letters or on the import alerts. What does that mean? That means that any potential buyer, distributor, client in the United States would see that. It's not really a good publicity for your company. So you may have a fantastic website, a fantastic booth at Cosmoprof, fantastic packaging. But if you have warning letters or import alerts, that's not very good for your brand. If you are detained at port, you aren't able to meet your clients' orders. You'll probably have to pay for the rental space at the port or the airport. So there would be major consequences that would cost you much more than having to invest beforehand in the compliance process. So we always say it's better to comply, to get fully compliant before you start distributing your products in the United States. It will surely cost less than getting caught by the US FDA. Yeah. So we'll explore a little bit better the inspection practice by the FDA and its authority to access your records. Of course, if the FDA has a reasonable belief that a cosmetic product or an ingredient is likely to be adulterated, yeah, they will ask to have access to all of your adverse event records that as a responsible person you have to maintain for 3 years if you are a small business or for 6 years if you are not a small business. FDA may request a list of all ingredients in a product, fragrance, or flavors. Of course, the FDA cannot have access to your cosmetic formulas and recipes. They cannot access your administrative records or research data, yeah, other than those that are essential for safety substantiation. So you don't have to worry about that. FDA is not interested in your secrets. FDA is interested to ensure that they understand what has gone wrong in the supply chain, so to prevent any issues that will have an impact with the health of a US customer. Yeah. Um, in case of an inspection to a cosmetic facility, of course, FDA will not have access to your financial data, to your shipment data, pricing data, or sales data. Of course not. Yeah. So that too is important to clarify so that you know exactly what FDA expects from you and you can get organized appropriately beforehand. Yeah. Okay. So we said FDA has more power. Thanks to MoCRA, after 84 years, FDA has more authority, yeah, on cosmetic facilities. And FDA can decide to issue a recall, yeah, if the FDA secretary determines that there is a reasonable probability that a cosmetic is either adulterated or misbranded. There are three classes of recalls that are listed under CFR 21 Part 7. Yeah. And class 1, of course, has the major impact because it implies that there is a reasonable probability that the use of or the exposure to a product will result in a serious adverse health event that may cause death. Yeah. Whereas class 2 and class 3 are less important. Yeah, but still, you have to take those into account. And FDA, of course, performs its evaluation and evaluation. They can decide to perform that on the single use of a single product, or they can take into account multiple products. Yeah. So this investigation can be multi-layered and can lead to different recalls. A recall can impact one single product or can have an impact on a whole company. Yeah. So a whole company is not able to export its products to the United States. And also, FDA can publish a recall with regards to a specific country. So you see, the gravity of the recall authority can go from a very small product, one product, to a whole country. Yeah. So it's very important that you are aware of what the FDA considers as compliant and what's not compliant. Okay, so it's important that you get compliant. Why is that? It's not only to be able to go through customs if you are a non-US company, yeah, but it's also important because all the major retailers, as we said, and all the marketplaces have put in place a policy whereby they will request you for evidence of your compliance with MoCRA provisions. So they may ask for listing numbers, for screenshots of your listing submissions, for your registration number, for screenshots of your registrations on the FDA portal, Cosmetics Direct. So it's very important that you are aware of that, because you may decide not to get compliant now because, for instance, you say, okay, I have no clients there is no point in getting compliant. Okay, but if you get a purchase order, or if you attend Cosmoprof and a buyer says, oh, great, I love your products. When can you ship those to me tomorrow? So if you're not ready, of course, it's like saying, okay, wait a minute, I need to find out whether my suppliers are registered. Then I need to find out how to submit my product listings with the FDA. And you all know that in the US, everything goes fast. So if you are not ready, if you do not react fast, there will be some others behind you or on the booth next to you that will get the order instead of you. So just bear that in mind. MoCRA, of course, it's a big revolution, yeah, for all of you. It implies a lot of understanding of what's going on, of integration of the new requirements. You probably need to budget in labeling requirements in order to redo your packages, do the registrations, do the listing submissions. However, it's also an extraordinary um, business opportunity for you. And why is that? Because if you're ready to get compliant now, you'll have more opportunities to sell your products in the United States, to ship your products to the United States, to exhibit your products at Cosmoprof. Because as I said, when you want to exhibit your products in the United States, you need to be FDA compliant. Yeah, it's not only a matter of customs, it's a matter that retailers, marketplaces, and potential buyers at the trade show may ask for evidence of your compliance. Registrar Corp, of course, can assist you with registration process, listing submissions, and we will always provide you with certificates that are attesting that you are FDA compliant. Those certificates can be sticked on your booth. You can publish those on your website, or you can send those via email to your clients and prospects. So it's a good marketing tool indeed. Okay, let's go into practice the challenges, practical challenges with facility registration and product listing requirements. How does it work? Okay, so if you're a cosmetic facility, we said that you are subject to facility registration with FDA. There is a prerequisite for registration. You first need to find out whether your facility, your physical address, has an FEI number. What's an FEI number? FEI stands for FDA Establishment Identifier. Okay, so if you do not have it, you may request it to the email address indicated on this slide. Normally, it takes up to 10 business days to get an FEI number. If you aren't sure about having an FEI number, you can create a login, yeah, on the FDA FEI search portal. It's free of charge, and you can check whether your company has a specific FEI number for that specific location. If you do have an FEI number and it's not exactly matching your company name or your physical address, then you'll have to ask FEI portal to update your FEI number. That's a prerequisite for registration. Of course, Registrar Corp can assist you with this procedure within our assistance. Okay, once you have a valid FEI number, what's the process? you can start the registration process with the FDA. Normally, the registration number is your FEI number. So this number, this registration is specific to a company name and to a specific physical address. One address, one registration number. Within that registration, you can put one product or 100 of products. Yeah, it's up to you. Registrations, are those always valid? No. Once you have submitted the registration, registrations must be renewed every 2 years. Yeah. And of course, updating an FDA registration for a cosmetic facility is a constant process. Why is that? Because every time your responsible person adds new collections or ask you to delete discontinued products, you have to update, yeah, your registration. In case of a major change in your company, meaning the company name has changed or the physical address have changed, you have 60 days to inform the FDA. Yeah. Of course, all of these processes are taken care of by our company. If you are going to uh, um, choose us as your official correspondent, and if you are not a domestic company, as your US agent. Okay. That's for the cosmetic facility. Whereas if you are a responsible person, we said you need to list all of your cosmetic products distributed in the United States. So every single product, yeah. If you have different shades of the same product, you have to list every single shade of that product. If you have a product like, for instance, a shampoo that comes in different sizes, you'll have to list that product once only. Okay? So you need to indicate the name on the label, all of the ingredients, yeah, including fragrances, flavors, or colors, identified by the common or usual name. Okay, so no botanical name, no Latin name, that's not accepted by the FDA. So of course, the responsible person will have to collect all of those information beforehand, yeah, from the cosmetic facility, and the cosmetic facility from the supplier or suppliers of the raw materials, yeah. You'll have to indicate the category or categories of your products. And you ask me, okay, so where do I find it? You can have a look at Appendix A in the final guidance published by the FDA on the 14th of December last year. If you don't have that document, you can easily find it on the FDA website. You can, if you don't find it yet, we can send it to you, no problem. Yeah. And another thing that's important before you start the listing submission of your products with the FDA, you'll have to collect all the FEI numbers, all the registration numbers of all your suppliers. So if you have several suppliers that do the bulk, and then some others that do the filling, and some others that do the primary packaging, so you need to collect all those numbers before you can proceed. I would like to give you a little piece of an advice. When you ask for FEI number, please ensure that there is a valid registration behind that number. Yeah, because sometimes we saw we saw some cases in which responsible persons asked for FEI numbers. The facility provided them with their FEI number, but failed to mention that they still had not registered with the FDA. So if you start the process of submitting your listings with the FDA, your product listings with the FDA, and there is no registration behind that FEI number, then the FDA will not validate your submission and you have to redo the whole process again. So very time consuming. Yeah. For the cosmetic facilities that are registered with Registrar Corp, we provide a certificate of registration. So just ask for the certificate of registration. That's an evidence of a valid registration. Yeah. We discussed about the mandatory information to indicate for the listing submissions. Here is a screenshot of what you see on the Cosmetics Direct portal, the FDA portal for cosmetic products. So there are a couple of ways that you can go about it. Yeah, you can do a manual submission. Yeah, in such case, you need to create a login, complete all the mandatory fields. Yeah. If you don't have all the mandatory information, you can save and come back later. If you have all the mandatory information, you have to validate before you submit. If you have the same product, yeah, same recipe, same formulation, that is that comes in different shades, you can use the clone fiction, okay, function. So you clone what you just submitted, you change the name of the product, and you modify appropriately the list of ingredients. So you'll understand that it's a very time-consuming process, especially when you'll have to renew your listings, because once submitted, of course, it's not the end of the big job. Once submitted, most probably you'll have to update, yeah, those listings, or you have to add new listings, or you'll have to delete the listing for the products that are discontinued. And on top of that, the FDA requires that you renew your listing submissions after 12 months from initial submission. So say you submit a product listing today, another one tomorrow, you have to remember that on December the 10th, 2025, you'll have to renew the product that you have submitted with the FDA today. So it's quite a complex process, especially for you guys that normally are focused on business development. So it's probably not your core business, and if you make mistakes, you're in trouble. Yeah. So well, of course, it's up to you to decide which is the best path forward for your company, but always having a reliable and experienced consultant with more than 20 years experience globally can make the difference for your business. The other way to submit listings is through the SPL format, the structured product labeling format, which is quite technical, but allows you to submit all of your listings in bulk. For instance, when you have one same product, one same formulation that comes in different shades, yeah, that's easier for renewal purposes. But of course, it's extremely complex to build if you don't have the appropriate software and the skills. So once again, we do submissions like that, but if you're not really versed in these complexities, it's not something that we would recommend. Ingredients. Listing ingredients on Cosmetic Direct can be very time consuming and tricky. Why? Because the UNI code, which is the codes that are accepted by the FDA, the template that's made available by the FDA sometimes does not match your list of ingredients. So what do you do in such case? Well, you have to go back to the UNI code database to look for your ingredients and then go back to your listing submissions. If you do, of course, the manual submission. So it can be really long, and you have no right to make mistakes. Otherwise, FDA will either not validate your submission, or at customs they might find some inconsistencies. Yeah. Okay, so we already mentioned if you have an eyeshadow that comes in 50 shades, you'll have to submit 50 separate product listings. Once again, bulk uploads can only be completed through the SPL technology. Otherwise, you'll have to use the clone option to copy and paste the listings and then modify the appropriate fields. Tips, practical tips. We like to give practical tips if you want to do it yourself. Um, uh, oops. Companies are experiencing high validation error rates. Of course, if you're not used to the technology, to the processes, mistakes are very common, and misunderstandings as well. So, first of all, the cosmetic facilities must register, get an FEI number. One FEI number for one registration, one physical address. All the mandatory fields must be entered to be able to validate your submission. Okay. Another thing, the product name for your listing submission must be unique. Yeah. If the product name is not unique enough, like lotion is not unique enough, you can add your brand name. Yeah. In order to make it unique. No special character. Yeah. So please avoid those. And another thing that I wanted to mention, which is extremely important, please make sure that the products that you list with the FDA as a responsible person match exactly the list of products that are included in the FDA registration of your suppliers, yeah, the cosmetic facilities. If there is an inconsistency, yeah, FDA may spot that at customs, yeah, or during an inspection. So you want to avoid that. Let's talk about adverse event requirements. Okay, so the system for adverse event reporting was already in place, is already in place for drugs, medical devices, and dietary supplements. So far, cosmetic products were not involved in adverse event requirements. Once again, these requirements are health related, okay? It's not a customer complaint thing. Okay, so adverse event requirements include receiving, okay, a report, includes keeping the records for at least 3 years if you're a small business, up to 6 years if you're not a small business, and reporting to the FDA in case of an adverse event which is serious, which you have identified as a serious one. Okay, so let's see the definition of a serious adverse event according to the FDA. We had definitions that were already known, of course. But then the FDA expanded, the notion of serious adverse event. Those are mentioned in bold on the bottom of this slide. So there are added provisions because these are typical of the cosmetic industry. And why is that? Because thanks to or due to the influence of the social media like TikTok or Instagram, the FDA has identified that a larger number of cosmetic products are used simultaneously. So perhaps a few years ago, we would have 3 or 4 cosmetic products on us. Now, if you count, I bet that each one of you has at least 20 products. So of course, there can be interactions between the different products. So there is a change in this industry. There is a change in the influencing, and the FDA advises that brands should be testing the interactions with other brands in order to ensure that serious adverse events are prevented. Okay, but if you experience a serious adverse event, okay, if a U.S. consumer reports a serious adverse event to you, what's going to happen? Okay, so first of all, you're going to ask me, so how can a U.S. consumer report a serious adverse or an adverse event to me? Okay, so no later than December 29th this year, so in just a few days, you'll have the obligation, if you're a responsible person, to include on your packaging either a domestic address, so a physical address in the United States, or a domestic phone number, so a phone number in the United States, or an electronic contact. An electronic contact can be either a URL or a QR code. So far, FDA didn't express itself regarding the possibility of mentioning email addresses, as an electronic contact. We, as Registrar Corp, we would advise you to go for the electronic contact. Why is that? Because the contact for adverse event reporting has to go both on the inner and on the outer package. Okay, so both on the small label that you'll have on the lipstick or on the bottle and on the outside package. Okay, for space sake, I bet you'll find it more useful to have a URL or a QR code. Okay, so through that contact, you'll be able to collect all of the adverse events from US consumers. Okay, it would be advisable for you to create an online questionnaire that would have all the 43 mandatory fields that the FDA will request from you in case you'll have to do a reporting for a serious adverse event. For the time being, you have to know that the FDA has not proposed a specific form for cosmetic products that receive serious adverse event reports. So for the time being, if you're a responsible person, you'll have to complete a form, an FDA form that's called 3500. Which is not really adapted for the cosmetic industry, but still there are 43 fields that are applicable to cosmetic products. So when collecting information regarding an adverse event, you'll have to ensure that you're able to collect all of those 43 mandatory information as soon as possible. Why is it important that you collect all of those information as soon as possible? Because then you'll have only 15 business days to assess whether that event is serious or it's not serious. If it's serious, then you'll have to report it to the FDA through the form 3500. If it's not serious still, you'll have to keep all the records, the images of the patient, the doctor reports, the image of the packaging, the email exchanges, everything. You'll have to be neatly organized and kept in a secured place for at least 3 if you are a small business, up to 6 years if you are not a small business. Of course, Excel files are not accepted by the FDA. Of course, we advise you to collect all those information and to store them in a secured online platform that can be accessible by all the different actors in your company, regulatory, marketing, sales, your dermatologist, everybody, yeah, that can assess whether this event is serious or not. And on top of that, having everything stored in a secure place will ensure that all those information, health-related information, are kept as confidential and private. Yeah, that's very important as well. We have an ISO certification that ensures that. So I think that we meet FDA requirement and your requirement. We can create a link with the URL that you can indicate to us to our online platform that will store for you all those records neatly in case of an FDA inspection. On top, if you are a responsible person and you do a reporting because it's a serious adverse event for the following 12 months, 1 year, you'll have to update FDA in case any new and material medical information comes up. So we strongly advise that you do not rely on SharePoint, Excel files, emails, because people come and go. Information can get stolen, missed, lost. So it's very, very crucial that you do act properly in respect to this requirement. We have covered that. So there are 4 different components with the process of adverse events. We have spoken at length about that: receiving, reporting, reviewing and investigating whether it's serious or not, keeping the records in case of an FDA inspection, and reporting to the FDA if it's a serious adverse event. Of course, it's crucial that you follow this process appropriately because it can expedite adverse event reporting. Yeah. Thanks to the reviews and investigation, you are able also to normalize incident rates. You can also work on fine-tuning the warning that you have decided to put on your labels. And you can also, thanks to this process, define acceptable ranges, yeah, for your product. So all in all, it's a very good best post-market surveillance tool. It's not just something that you have to do because MoCRA says you to do that. No, on the contrary, you can see it in another positive way that can help you better position your product on the US market. So this is just a screenshot of the form that the FDA would ask you to complete. There are lots and lots of mandatory information to complete. It's time consuming if you do it yourself manually. Yeah, we can help you with that too. Here is a screenshot of our adverse event management tool. You'll be able to collect and archive all those reports. You can classify the events by type, schedule a follow-up with the FDA. So it's extremely well organized and efficient and streamlines all your efforts and save time, so money to you all in all. Okay, so this is the MedWatch. Yeah, so the 3500 form, the FDA will ask you to complete this form. Will have to be completed and sent to the FDA within 15 business days from receiving the first report from a US user. You can, of course, enclose images, medical reports, no Excel files. Yeah. Yeah, I think I've covered as a first notion everything that you need to know as of now. What are the services that Registrar Corp can offer to your company in order to get compliant appropriately and fast? We can proceed with the registration of the cosmetic facilities and provide US agent assistance. We can submit product listings on your behalf if you are a responsible person. We can review your labels if you're a responsible person and provide adverse event management assistance. Also, bear in mind that we propose a whole range of online trainings. Yeah, and we also have a software, a formulation software for your cosmetic products, which is called Cosmetry. We can offer you a free demo if you're interested in that. It's something that we offer in complement to our MoCRA services, but it also covers different regulations, yeah, worldwide. So it's really very comprehensive and useful. So of course, once again, we can submit your product listings quickly and accurately. Adverse event management software, just the same. And here is a slide with the whole range of our online training to support compliance and QA teams. If you have joined this webinar, we can take 15 off if you include the code cosmetics OT 2024 at checkout by accessing our webpage online-training.registrarcorp.com. Whereas on all other services, we offer a 10% discount thanks to the collaboration between Registrar Corp and Cosmoprof. You can use the Cosmoprof 2025 code and you'll get a 10% discount on all of our services throughout 2025. Of course, we'll be ready to welcome you at Cosmoprof Miami. Please visit our booth 562, and discover the whole range of our solution for cosmetic compliance. We'll have actually one booth and another desk if you want immediate assistance for registration, listing, and adverse event management. If you're not sure still on which requirements apply, to your company, we provide you with a free online tool, which is called MoCRA Wizard. just enter MoCRA Wizard and you'll easily find it on our website. You'll be asked to answer a few questions and you'll get a free report indicating exactly which are the applicable FDA requirements for your specific company. If you want to access all of our services, please visit our website. I can be available for all your questions after this webinar. Specifically for the Europe office, you can write to europe@registrarcorp.com. If you're not based in EU, you can write to us on info@registrarcorp.com or call us up at the phone number that you'll find on this slide. Thank you for your attention. And now I'll switch it to Alexis for the Q&A session. Thank you very much.
All right. So the first question I see here, Chiara says, I have a question about fragrance labeling. Has the FDA determined the allergens? If so, can only the ingredients that cause allergies be listed on the label? Fragrance ingredients are usually very long and difficult to include on the label.
Yeah, you're perfectly right. Thank you for this question. As I said, as of now, the FDA still has not published a proposed rule for the allergen list in fragrances. So, for instance, well, informally, it's probable that the FDA will go with the basic 29 allergens. A few months ago, it was thought that the FDA would go for the 80 allergens that have been published by the newly published by the European Community. But then, of course, probably they realized that it would be a huge gap for especially the domestic companies or for companies in other countries. So for the time being, just include the allergens in the fragrances that you know of that are in line with your with the regulations of your country. I'm sorry, but I cannot be more specific than that, and I cannot provide you with more specific indications, just because you see that the FDA regulations are in progress. They're extremely complex. It will take time to publish the proposed rules and then to go through the process of confrontation with the major actors and then define a final rule. The FDA will grant you in any case, more time to include those regulations. FDI is not a bad guy. Yeah, they always understand that it's difficult for industry to adapt, so they provide you time. They nuance, yeah. The rules according to the size of your company, according to your business operations. So regulations probably will not apply the same way to all companies. Yeah. So that's all that I can say to you for the time being. Thank you.
All right, so another question says, we have completed our FDA cosmetic facility registration. Will there be an inspection after the facility is registered? Do we need to complete the inspection before facility registration is complete?
No. Thank you for your question. So if you're not registered with the FDA, of course, you're not subject to FDA requirements. Okay? But if you register, you'll have to expect that sooner or later the FDA will inspect your physical address. We already received a few notice of inspection for our registered clients. So it's likely that you'll receive a notification of inspection sooner or later. We cannot say whether it's going to be tomorrow or in 1 year's time or 3 years' time. Just take into account that sooner or later they will come to your facility. What's the process? The process is, first of all, they send you an email with a factory profile. Well, it's a questionnaire, that you need to complete. Once they get your factory profile back, you have to provide it within 5 working days, no more than that. They'll decide whether to schedule an inspection at your premises or not. The decision takes a few months. Sometimes it takes a couple of months. Some other times it takes 1 year, 2 years. But then all of a sudden they can say, okay, we are not interested. We will not come for the time being. Or they may say, okay, we have decided that we will come to your facility and these are the dates. Okay, so when you respond to a notice of inspection, please ensure that you indicate in extreme detail the days that your company is closed, the days when there is no production, because for instance, you are a European country and you assume that, of course, the 26th of December, it's a holiday, so FDA will not come. Well, if you make it clear to an American inspector, the 26th of December is not a holiday in the US. So, of course, they could come on that day. So, the difference with cosmetics is that you're not obliged to sign to indicate that you are okay with FDA to inspect your facility as a condition to get your registration. However, once you're registered, you cannot deny FDA the possibility of coming to your facility to inspect it. Thank you.
All right. Should products with the same product ingredients and percentage but different capacity be uploaded separately?
Okay, this has changed over time. Till June this year, we would submit every single product to the FDA, even if it came in different net contents sizes. Whereas starting from June this year, the FDA made it clear that it only suffices to submit once a product with that comes in different net contents and sizes, provided the list of ingredients are exactly the same. However, if you decide that, for instance, for logistics purposes, it's more convenient for your company to submit every single product and every single net contents, of course you can do that. But the FDA does not indicate that that's mandatory. That's a bit different. Thank you.
All right. I have a question that says, to clarify, as a skincare company attending Cosmoprof and planning on providing samples, do we need to be registered with the FDA and have our products registered?
Okay, you need to be registered with the FDA if you are a cosmetic facility. If you are not a cosmetic facility, you must ensure that your suppliers are registered with the FDA. Once you've done that, you are ready to submit your products with the FDA in order to get a listing number. Even if you're bringing prototypes, to the show, because you're putting your company name on the products, you become automatically a responsible person. So you're subject to listing submission requirement. So yes, if you're bringing your products to the show as testers, if you want a buyer to test your product, to put it on the skin, then of course, yes, you're subject to listing submission requirement. And the only way that you can skip requirements, frankly, is to bring empty boxes, yeah, just to decorate your booth. There is no other way, and it's very logical if you think of it. In case of an adverse event, the FDA wants to know exactly who's involved in the supply chain, who's manufactured this product, who's packed this product, who's filled this product, who's the responsible person. Yeah. So if you're not registering your products, first of all, you'll have troubles at customs. Of course, if you are a non-US company. Yeah, because as a standard procedure, if they check your shipment, they would ask for evidence of registration number and for evidence of listing numbers. Yeah, so that's the first problem. If you are a domestic company, so an American company, and exhibiting at Cosmoprof, of course, it will be easier for you in a way because your products will not have to go through customs. However, once again, if you have the luck of having a US buyer, yeah, interested in your products, uh, with the current policies put in place by all the major retailers and all the marketplaces, they will absolutely ask for evidence of your compliance with FDA requirements because no one wants to get issues with the FDA. So if you're not prepared to meet your buyer's request, of course you're out of the game. Mm. I understand it's last minute. I understand it's difficult for you to understand who needs to do and why. Yeah, but rest assured that if you decide to go ahead with registration and listing submission, we can make it happen for you before the show starts. And if you call us up tomorrow, you're absolutely sure that you're going to be registered with FDA and you'll have submitted your products with the FDA within the end of the year. So yeah, just transform this challenge in a great opportunity for you to do business at Cosmoprof and position yourself in evidence with respect to other companies. Thank you.
All right, Chiara, that was our. Oh, never mind. We got one more question. Is putting
Yeah.
a URL is putting a URL for serious adverse event reporting a mandatory?
Well, it will be mandatory as the latest deadline from December 29th this year. Yeah. So in 15 days time, it will be mandatory. So if you're shipping your products for the trade show, you'll have to include the adverse event contact on your labels. Yes, even if those are testers, even if those are prototypes to be exhibited at Cosmoprof. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. I wanted to mention, of course, the adverse event reporting requirement has come into effect last year on December 29th. So the worst thing that could happen to you is that a consumer or a visitor at Cosmoprof has a serious adverse event and doesn't know and doesn't understand how to get in touch with your company. They could contact the FDA directly. That's what happened to one of our clients, and it was a total mess. So you'd want to avoid that. I strongly recommend that you include the contact for adverse event now, so that it's clear for the consumer experiences a health-related issue, how to get in touch with you. Thank you.
All right. Well, that was all the questions we got. I just wanted to reiterate there's a survey after this, and we really would love if you gave your feedback. Thank you, Chiara. It was an amazing webinar.
Thank you all, and have a great Cosmoprof Miami. Let's keep in touch. Thank you. Bye.